Why do people vote for Donald Trump? Hi, I'm Brian Fleming, founder of Use Your Story, where I teach trauma survivors and people with unique life stories how to get booked and paid to speak, sharing their stories. Now, why would I bring up a divisive political candidate in one of these videos? Well, because there are some things that he does that are very good lessons to learn that can help you as you communicate your story. Now, I want to be clear. This video is not an endorsement for or against Donald Trump or any of his fellow candidates or his opposition. This has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with storytelling and how you communicate in such a way that people feel like your story is about them. Because when you do this, your story will be more effective and it will help more people and you will get booked and paid to speak more. By the way, if you haven't done so already, go grab the free Share Your Story roadmap at useyourstory.com, where I'm going to show you a very simple step-by-step way exactly how to make your first $500 speaking. Free. I'm giving this to you for free. I'm going to teach you how to make your first $500 speaking and sharing your story absolutely free using the Share Your Story roadmap. So go grab that real quick if you haven't done so already at useyourstory.com. There's a link in the description. So why do people vote for Donald Trump? Well, there are a number of reasons for this, but one of the big reasons is that he talks according to a narrative. He speaks according not to his own narrative, but according to the narrative of the people he wants votes from. He talks about their story and their daily life and what it's like and their values and the things that they want in life. He talks about the problems and the issues that they have with the other side of the political spectrum. If the people he's trying to get support from and votes feel like they've been done wrong by the other side of the political spectrum, he talks about that. And he talks about why it's not right and why they shouldn't have to live that way. And he talks about things, sometimes, about what he's actually going to do about it to make those wrongs right. And on top of that, he's pretty blunt in the way he talks, which is actually not always very common for a politician. So that definitely differentiates him from other candidates. So whether it's political or religious or having to do with immigration or the economy, he's constantly talking to the problem. Hear me on this. He's constantly talking to the problem that his supporters have in each of the main areas of life. Because here's a lesson. When you stop talking about other people's problems, they stop listening to you. So when you're talking about your story, think about what problem your story can help solve for other people. And just remember, when you stop talking about that problem or how that problem is affecting them, they're going to listen to you less and less. So think about that. And this isn't a manipulation technique. This is honest. This is how the human brain functions and thinks. It's how it's wired. It's how we think, whether we like it or not. So don't ever stop talking about the problems that your supporters or audience members in this case are facing. Because when you do, they're going to listen to you less. Here's the second thing Donald Trump does to get more people to vote for him. He paints mental pictures, very clear mental pictures of what life can look like if people vote for him and what life will look like, what's at stake, what's at risk, the worst case scenario if they do not vote for him and the other side wins. He's very graphic, he's very outspoken, he's very blunt, as I said, but he doesn't cut it short in his ability to describe what life can look like. I mean, just think about when he first ran for president and won. Make America great again. That's a statement in 4 words that, I had to count right there, in 4 words that it wasn't about him. It was about collectively all of us. What was the point of that phrase? It's not pointed just to him. If you remember Hillary Clinton, it was something like, I'm with her. And that's just not as inspiring as, hey, we can make this country great again. This idea that there was a past greatness and, kind of like Rome. And so that's something that people want to believe in and gather around and be a part of. That's huge. And he paints a mental picture of what that will look like, quote, if you vote for him, and what it won't look like, and what the worst case scenarios will look like if you don't vote for him. Again, all politicians do this, but admittedly, Donald Trump seems to be especially good at it. For whatever reason, it's a part of him, it seems. So I want you to think about how you can use this same technique. How are you painting a positive mental picture of an outcome, a life that people can have who are struggling with a problem that you've overcome or you can help them get through? What does that ideal, positive life look like if they follow your advice that they'll get, that they want? But also, what is the absolute worst case scenario picture you can paint for them that they will stay suffering in if they don't do what you say? Maybe it's nothing ever changes. You stay stuck, or, your marriage fails, or, you're paying alimony and child support for the next 15 years and you only get to keep 30% of everything you work for. And that's after she takes half of everything. You lose half your friends because they don't know who to choose when you divorce your spouse. They don't know who to side with. I mean, this could be anything. I'm just throwing out examples there. But think about the mental pictures you need to paint. The ideal outcome that people want and the worst case scenario that's going to happen if they don't take your advice and do it. And third, Donald Trump has a constant call to action. Everything he does, right on top of it, in some way, shape, or form, it's vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. People have no lack of clarity as to what they're supposed to do if they like what he's saying. Is to go vote for him. Again, this video is not endorsing him. It's not praising him or his candidates or his opposition or anything like that. I'm simply looking at this from an observational perspective of a professional communicator. And these things are working for him. In fact, I remember when he ran against Hillary Clinton, the first time he ran for president. Everybody in the news, all the news stations, the media, everybody was laughing. It was a laughing stock. And I'll be honest with you, in the back of my mind, the whole time, I honestly, in my mind, I was saying to myself, this guy's going to win. Because we had just come from 8 years of a person, Obama, who was opposite of Trump in a lot of ways. And the conservative audience really, really hated that for a lot of reasons. So they were almost kind of starving and fed up and would almost take a change of any pace. And so that's a different discussion for another day. But think about this. What constant call to action are you telling people? Are you telling people, hey, I have this free resource that you can download. It can help you. Go grab it. I did that at the beginning of this video. I do that at the beginning of every video because I want to be able to help you. I want you to go get that free thing so I can keep helping you share your story. That's the action I want you to take. In the same way, when Trump says, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, in whatever way, shape, or form, and no matter how colorful it is, he's saying it, and people have no lack of clarity as to what they're supposed to do. And here's a bonus. Here's a bonus thing that I see Donald Trump doing. And this doesn't always work for everybody. You have to know when you can use it or not. But we all know he says some pretty wild shit. Yeah, he says some really colorful things that just, will just trigger so many people who are in the opposition camp that will just blow up the media over it, and then it gets them a ton of publicity. Publicity stunts don't always work, so I would caution you with that. But he uses a lot of colorful language. He says some outlandish things that he either believes or says he believes, but at the very least, his audience of supporters tend to believe it. And when he's willing to say it and nobody else is, but they're all thinking it, that is extremely powerful, and it really makes people trustworthy of that person, whoever's doing it. It makes them loyal to them. So think about how you can do that too. You don't have to be as wild as Donald Trump or colorful or even profane sometimes in your language, but think about the things that you can just say bluntly that your audience members, the people you're trying to help, are thinking. Because when you're communicating your story and the narrative you're communicating is the same narrative your audience has in their own heads, in their own thoughts, there is a huge bonding psychologically that goes on there. And they like you and they trust you more, and they want to go where you're going in many cases. So again, the big lesson here is that when Trump is on his campaign trail, when he's talking, when he's doing these rallies, he's not talking from his own perspective. He's talking using a narrative from the perspective of the people he wants voting for him. He's framing his communication in a way that it's speaking to the hearts and minds of the people he wants votes from, which tends to be the conservative side of the political aisle. This is the angle from which he communicates, and it seems to have been particularly effective for him. So think about it. What is your perspective? What is the narrative you're telling? Is it yours? Are you talking about just your story? Or are you telling your story in such a way that it's from the narrative angle of the people in the audience, the people who are just like you that you're trying to help? Are you speaking their language? Are you talking from their narrative perspective? Because if you do, who knows? Maybe one day you might be president. So what are your thoughts on this? Leave a comment below and let me know. Let's have a discussion. I'd love to hear it. And again, this is not endorsing or denying endorsement of Trump or any of his fellow candidates or his oppositional candidates. This is just looking at how he communicates in a pretty darn effective way from an observational perspective of a professional communicator. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment below.